At 8:43 in the morning on June 12th, 2018, the security camera outside the Bitterroot National Forest Visitor Center in Montana recorded a young man named Daniel R. Keene signing the trail register. The pen scratched faintly, the sunlight fell across the clipboard. His entry, Rye Creek Loop Solo Day Hike, was the last written line on that page until evening. At the counter, the clerk rang up 2 bottles of water, a protein bar, and a folded map stamped by the station at 8:46 a.m., verified by the receipt stored in the case evidence file. Outside, Daniel toggled the GPS function on his wrist unit, looked once toward the parking lot, and adjusted his backpack strap. Wind moved through the lodge poles, carrying the dry rasp of beetle kill bark. By dusk, that same logbook entry would be flagged in red, not for recreation, for incident. In early June 2018, Daniel R. Keene, age 32, software technician from Missoula, planned a solo hike along the Rye Creek Loop, a 23-mile circuit known for its clear signage and mild difficulty. Colleagues later described him as organized to a fault. Police would later log 42 items recovered from his vehicle, each zip-locked and labeled. Daniel's meticulous preparation stood out even to wilderness professionals. A week before his hike, he had called the ranger station twice to check trail conditions. He had downloaded updated maps and programmed his GPS with emergency waypoints. His vehicle contained a spare battery pack, extra food rations, and a detailed itinerary left under the passenger seat. Allison Page, park volunteer on duty that morning, confirmed he had checked the fire report, weather, everything. It was like he rehearsed being careful. The security footage from the visitor center shows Daniel moving with quiet efficiency, checking his watch, adjusting equipment straps, consulting the map one final time before folding it along crisp lines. The clicking of GPS buttons punctuated his preparation. The topographic map crinkled as he aligned it with landmarks visible through the center windows. Around him, the atmosphere held safe daylight, ordinary and unwarning. His car keys were tucked into an inner zippered pocket, documented in the pre-hike checklist found in his vehicle. The emergency contact card listed his sister first, mother second. Both phone numbers were verified before filing. According to time-stamped trail cameras, Daniel passed the first marker at 9:17 a.m., pace steady, posture relaxed. The footage shows him pausing to drink water and check coordinates. His backpack sat high and balanced, suggesting proper weight distribution. Investigators later noted this preparation as anomalous. Few such thorough hikers went missing under stable weather conditions. The statistical improbability led the initial search coordinator to suspect injury rather than disorientation. The line between meticulous planning and quiet premonition remained unexplainable. That morning's trail register would become Exhibit A4, preserved under plastic at the ranger station until transferred to evidence storage in Missoula. The handwriting analysis confirmed normal pressure patterns, no signs of distress or hesitation in the signature. His preparation was textbook, noted Deputy Peter Holcomb in his initial assessment. The kind we tell people to emulate. That's what made this case so damn concerning from hour one. In the recovered parking lot footage, Daniel waves once, to no one visible off-screen, an unconscious farewell gesture that search teams would later review 17 times, searching for meaning in what appeared to be nothing more than habit. The gesture became symbolic of the case. A meticulous man vanishing despite perfect preparation, leaving only wave patterns in digital storage, coordinates in satellite memory, and a precisely folded map that led exactly nowhere. By late morning, June 12th, hikers on the lower loop described intermittent radio chatter from the Forest Service repeater. Weak signal south of mile marker 3, one unit logged at 11:22 a.m. This transmission would later be studied for background noise that might indicate Daniel's position at that time. Environmental conditions that day were documented thoroughly. Clear skies, 71 degrees Fahrenheit, minimal wind from the northwest at 4 miles per hour, pollen count moderate, visibility excellent at 22 miles. The forest fire risk assessment stood at low. Nothing in weather patterns suggested coming danger. A pair of day hikers, Martin and Susan Greeley, reported passing someone matching Daniel's description near the eastern ridge around 11:45. Their statement noted just another hiker with a red backpack, moving at normal pace. This sighting aligned with Daniel's projected route based on his map annotations. At 12:37 p.m., Daniel's GPS beacon transmitted one last waypoint, grid reference marked as 6 miles within Rye Creek Canyon. The unit's battery reading at that upload registered at 74%, sufficient for at least 12 more hours of operation under normal conditions. This final transmission became the center point of the initial search radius. 3 days later, searchers would find the GPS unit itself, power completely drained, near an exposed root system along the southern ridge. Technical examination found no mechanical failure. The battery had simply depleted through continuous searching for satellite signal in a canyon known for poor reception. The trail surface that day held perfect tracking conditions. Recent light rain had left substrate neither too wet nor too dry. Footprint preservation was optimal. Multiple sets of tracks verified Daniel's progress to mile marker 6 before the trail widened onto rock face. Forest Service incident records show that each year, nearly 1,900 individuals nationwide are categorized as unexplained missing on federal lands. Fewer than a quarter yield full resolution. Of those that do, 87% are explained by medical emergency, weather events, or navigational error. Less than 3% involve external human factors. The ordinary sunlight that day disguised the beginning of statistical anomaly. What began as routine recreation had already transformed into data collection for a search not yet initiated. Near the southern ridge crossing, search teams would later discover a scrap of duct tape pressed flat against bark, with the initials DK written in permanent ink. Daniel's routine equipment labeling turned evidence tag in the transition from presence to absence. The statistical mismatch kept growing, noted Search Captain Renee Dalton in her case summary. Perfect conditions, experienced hiker, clear trail, no weather event, no medical history. It was as if the narrative itself had a missing page. As darkness fell on June 12th, Daniel's position remained unknown while his final GPS transmission continued to ping on search computers, a digital ghost marking where presence had ended and absence began. On June 13th, Daniel's sister, Meredith Keene, received no reply to texts sent the previous evening. "You back yet?" And "call Mom tonight." She assumed poor service until morning. Cell tower records confirmed her messages reached Daniel's phone, but received no delivery confirmation. At 10:15 a.m., she phoned the ranger station. The report form R8E logged possible overdue hiker communication lapse approximately 14 hours. The ranger station landline rang with hollow echoes against office laminate while the duty officer recorded initial details. The pen tip punctured carbon paper as multiple copies were generated. The atmosphere maintained procedural calm. The first missing hiker report of the season, still presumed routine. By 11:30 a.m., Deputy Peter Holcomb of the Raleigh County Sheriff's Office arrived to perform initial vehicle inspection. Daniel's Subaru Outback remained parked at the South Trail lot, keys absent, pack missing. The vehicle was locked, windows secured. Nothing appeared forced or hurried. The deputy noted organized containers in the trunk, spare clothes, additional water, emergency kit. The vehicle presented as prepared for return, Holcomb noted in his report. Not abandoned. Inside the glove compartment, Holcomb found a sealed envelope containing vehicle registration, insurance documents, and a handwritten medication list, though no prescriptions were found in the vehicle. A journal recovered from under the driver's seat contained hiking notes from previous expeditions, with the current trail marked by a paperclip. The last entry, dated June 10th, read only, "Rye Creek tomorrow. Weather perfect. Pack ready." Meredith arrived at the trailhead at 2:45 p.m., having driven from Missoula after being notified. Her statement to rangers revealed no known medical issues, no recent emotional distress, no financial concerns. Daniel had seemed normal, maybe even upbeat, during their last phone conversation 2 days prior. Everything inside his car was squared away, Meredith later testified during the investigation review. It was like he stepped out of a plan that kept going without him. The preliminary search began at 3:20 p.m., with 2 rangers walking the main trail to mile marker 4. Standard procedure, calling Daniel's name at regular intervals, checking trail spurs and rest areas, examining sign-in logs at junction boxes. The evening air carried their voices further than expected. Pine needles crackled under methodical footsteps. Late afternoon light slanted through trees, creating long shadows that complicated visual sweeps. At 6:40 p.m., as sunset approached, rangers marked the trail entrance with orange tape and established communication protocols for the following day's expanded search. Meredith remained at the visitor center, providing additional photographs and contact information for Daniel's friends and workplace. Dispatch entry Holcomb 14, logged at 7:23 p.m., contained the line, "No sign beyond lot perimeter." It was meant to reassure that no evidence of struggle or injury had been found. Within 24 hours, it became the last neutral notation in what would soon transform into the county's most extensive wilderness search operation of the decade. By nightfall, what had begun as a routine communication delay had acquired the first markers of procedural concern. A single day hiker, extensively prepared, missing beyond expected return window, on a well-marked trail under optimal conditions. Search and rescue mobilization commenced June 14th under standard missing hiker protocols. The Incident Command Post, established at Bitterroot Visitor Center parking lot by 7 a.m., mobile communications trailer in place by 8:15. Initial grid search covered 12 square miles, expanding northward along slope drainage where lost hikers most commonly descended. Equipment recorded in the morning briefing included 3 K9 units, call signs Alpha, Beta, and Charlie, 2 helicopters, call signs Air 46 and Air 47, 12 ground volunteers in 4 teams, and communications relay stations at half-mile intervals. Each searcher carried GPS units synchronized to master coordinates. The morning fog lifted by 9:30, revealing mountains etched against clear sky. Rotor reverberation echoed through the valley as Air 46 began systematic grid sweeps. On the ground, boots pressed into wet moss and pine needles while team leaders maintained radio contact every 20 minutes. The atmosphere held silent optimism. Most missing hikers were located within 48 hours when weather remained stable. Day 1 search patterns follow statistical recovery models, explained search coordinator Thomas Welling in the operational briefing. We focus on high probability vectors, trail adjacency, water sources, natural shelter zones, and descent routes. K9 Beta acquired scent from Daniel's vehicle at 8:23 a.m. and tracked successfully to mile marker 3 before losing the trail at a stream crossing. Handler notes describe the dog as confused, not distressed, suggesting normal scent dispersion rather than trauma indicators. By noon, helicopter infrared had mapped all heat signatures within the primary search zone. Results showed 14 large mammals, likely deer and elk, 3 campfire remains, all cold, and no human-sized heat signatures. Drone footage collected over 5,000 images of the terrain for computer analysis, flagging 27 objects for ground team investigation. Search Captain Renee Dalton, 23 years experience with mountain rescue, supervised operations from the Mobile Command Center. Her log entry at 1,400 hours noted, conditions were textbook. Good visibility, solid tracking substrate, zero technical reason to lose a man here. As the search expanded, investigators revisited Daniel's personal effects. His apartment in Missoula revealed nothing unusual, bills paid, refrigerator stocked, laptop showing routine usage patterns. Work colleagues reported no concerning behavior changes. Medical records showed only annual physicals, all normal. At 16:30, the first full search day ended without contact. Teams regrouped as helicopter pilots noted fuel constraints. The command post established overnight procedures, reduced teams maintaining perimeter watches, infrared scanning on 3-hour rotations, emergency signal broadcasts on all wilderness frequencies. The first logbook copy was sealed in plastic, photographed beside the empty trailhead sign. The pen line Rye Creek Loop, solo day hike, now functioned as baseline data rather than recreational record. Meredith Keene remained at command post through evening briefing. Her statement, recorded by Deputy Holcomb, I keep thinking he'll just walk out of the trees and wonder what all the fuss is about. Normal documentation becomes memorial through mere endurance. What began as routine paperwork, a trail register, a timestamp, a planned return, had transformed into evidence markers. Each passing hour converted ordinary documentation into something weighted with absence. At dusk, Air 47 pilot radioed, visual anomaly, possible tarp reflection near grid section 14A. Ground teams deployed immediately, but found only water glare from a hidden spring. The false positive was logged, analyzed, and filed. Another data point in a search pattern growing more complex with each passing hour. It began as an efficient, statistically routine recovery operation. But precision could not resurrect signal where silence had established dominance. By June 17th, after 5 days, without contact, the command post relocated to a fire service storage hangar for logistical consolidation. The smell of fuel and pine pitch mixed in the morning air. Portable heaters clicked and hummed against the chill while searchers gathered for the dawn briefing. The operation had expanded to include 36 personnel, 4 K9 teams, 3 helicopters, and technical climbing specialists for ravine assessment. Federal resources joined through mutual aid agreements, bringing additional drones and satellite imaging capabilities. Deputy Holcomb's daily log entry noted, family present, cooperative, emotional state, restrained. Mother arrived from Seattle. Sister continues on-site coordination. Weather patterns shifted slightly. Barometric pressure dropping, cloud systems moving from the northwest. Search sectors adjusted accordingly, expanding towards areas where a hiker might seek shelter from coming weather. Meredith provided voice samples for call-out recordings broadcast by Air 46 during morning sweeps. The helicopter circled designated coordinates, while speakers projected her voice across the wilderness. "Danny, this is Myrrh. We're looking for you. Follow the noise if you can hear us." Over radio static and rotor wash, her words blurred and echoed between ridges. "Danny, follow the noise." Ravalli County search and rescue protocols authorized family voice loops for psychological orientation. Efficacy remained unmeasured in statistical outcomes but provided family members structured participation. A recorder on board captured any possible response. Search teams established 9 base camps within the expanded perimeter, each marked with orange ground tarps visible from air. Tent walls breathed with the rhythm of wind gusts. Nylon fabric snapped against aluminum poles while teams rotated through 4-hour rest cycles. "We're moving from acute search to sustained operation," Captain Dalton announced during the morning briefing. Shift rotations, nutrition protocols, and communications redundancy are now primary concerns alongside search patterns. The statistical probability model shifted on day 5. Computer projections calculated survival rates against resource depletion, weather exposure, and potential injury scenarios. The screen displayed percentage changes hourly, numbers that translated to hope in mathematical decline. Technical teams reviewed Daniel's GPS unit recovered on day 3. Laboratory analysis confirmed no manufacturing defects or software errors. The power depletion pattern matched normal operation until signal loss. No emergency activation had been triggered. Meredith maintained a presence at command center, reviewing maps and checking weather reports. Her mother established a missing person social media campaign from their hotel room. Online hiking forums spread awareness, generating dozens of tips. Each documented, cross-referenced, and mostly eliminated. The 2 mountains received human instruction as silence. Voice broadcasts disappeared into valleys without echo. Infrared scanned cold stone without revelation. Radio frequencies remained empty of response. K9 Beta, a 5-year veteran of mountain rescues, tracked scent to elevation 2,800 feet on the western slope, terminating at a fissured rock face with no exit trace. Handler notes described unusual behavior. Dog exhibited confusion at termination point, circling repeatedly without forward progress indication. As night fell on day 5, the command center monitors displayed a topographical map overlaid with search patterns, a digital tapestry of human movement through wilderness. Each colored line represented a team's path. Each dot marked a rest point or investigation pause. Together they formed a complex web centered on absence, thousands of hours of human movement documenting where Daniel wasn't. The search continued as probability models recalculated, hope transformed to endurance, and silence became its own form of evidence. Rain moved through the valley on June 18th, washing scent trails and degrading ground evidence. Search teams donned waterproof gear as operations continued under modified protocols. Visibility dropped to less than a quarter mile. Helicopter operations suspended temporarily. Satellite imagery from NOAA, requested through federal channels, registered transient anomalies during night passes. Infrared suggestion of campfire heat, east quadrant. Grid reference 22 by 47. Technical analysts cross-referenced, but could not verify. Reading could be weather inversion, noted Air Operations pilot Samuel Chen in his assessment, but we pursue all possibilities regardless of probability. Search teams pushed toward that vector, despite deteriorating conditions. Rain pounded against protective helmets. Boots slipped on clay surfaces, suddenly transformed to mud. Exhaustion manifested in smaller steps and more frequent rest breaks. The eastern ridge, usually traversable in under 3 hours, required nearly 6 under these conditions. Team leader Christine Orwell logged equipment failures. 2 radio units compromised by moisture. Signal repeater at checkpoint 4 intermittent. GPS accuracy reduced to plus or minus 30 meters due to cloud density. The weather system itself became evidence. Tracked, documented, analyzed for impact on both search operations and survival scenarios. Meteorologist data indicated overnight temperatures would drop to 41 degrees Fahrenheit with continued precipitation, creating hypothermia risk for anyone without shelter. A ranger named Leah Sandstrom slipped while descending the ridge line at 14:30, suffering a knee sprain that required evacuation. Her statement, recorded during medical assessment. All I could think about was how many of us the forest could take before calling it even. Command adjusted team compositions to maintain operational capacity. Deputy Holcomb joined field operations for the first time, leading Team 3 along the eastern drainage where satellite anomalies had been detected. His field notes described terrain more complex than maps indicate. Numerous unmapped drainages and rock formations creating potential shelter sites. By 1600 hours, Team 3 discovered evidence near an overhanging rock formation, a torn map fragment with fold patterns identical to those observed in Daniel's registered copy. The paper, partially protected from rain beneath the overhang, retained enough integrity for laboratory analysis. The fragment contained part of the Rye Creek Loop trail marking and what appeared to be handwritten notation. Technical examination conducted on-site confirmed paper weight and printing specifications matched Forest Service maps distributed that season. Laboratory print match results came back from Missoula late that evening, probable match to Daniel's copy, but not conclusive due to water damage and sample size. Evidence without body becomes geography, annotated by faith. The map fragment transformed the rock face from natural feature to potential crime scene. Yellow evidence markers appeared. Photographs documented spatial relationships. GPS coordinates locked the location into the investigation database. As darkness approached and rain continued, the command center instituted night protocols, reduced field presence but continuous monitoring. Meredith Keene, shown the map fragment photograph, confirmed it matched the one she'd watched Daniel fold at their last meeting. Infrared night imaging showed a blue tarp corner fluttering approximately 400 yards from the rock formation. The coordinates were wrong by several hundred yards from the afternoon search focus, requiring recalibration of morning deployment plans. The day's operations closed with statistical adjustment. The search had transitioned from rescue probability to evidence collection, a shift marked not by announcement but by the increasing precision of documentation procedures. On June 20th, a hiker reported an emergency beacon signal received via outdated frequency. The transmission picked up on a personal radio scanner at approximately 11:23 a.m. contained no voice communication, only the repeating tone pattern used by older model emergency transmitters. Technical analysis traced the signal to grid coordinates less than 1 mile from Daniel's last known position. Forensic specialists later identified the source as interference generated by mining equipment 3 valleys west, creating an atmospheric skip under specific weather conditions. Procedural response activated regardless of signal verification. Teams redeployed overnight. 20 personnel re-swept mile marker, 8 base camp, and surrounding terrain. The command center clocks showed continuous operation for 192 hours. Fatigue accumulation documented in required health assessments. Generator engines whined through the night, powering communications equipment and data processing. Canvas tent walls dampened with condensation as rain continued intermittently. The atmosphere settled into procedural monotony bordering disbelief. Each protocol followed with precision, despite diminishing expectation of resolution. "We're seeing decision fatigue in team leaders," noted Dr. Allison Way, psychological consultant assigned to the operation. Standard procedure becomes ritual when hope diminishes, but the ritual itself maintains operational integrity. Hydration incidents increased as search teams pushed physical limits. 3 members requiring intravenous fluids after returning from Eastern Sector operations. Medical logs documented electrolyte depletion patterns consistent with stress-accelerated exertion. Meredith Keene remained at Lodge headquarters, maintaining family presence as operation timelines extended. Local media interest increased proportionally to search duration. Statistical anomaly, creating narrative interest. In press conversation archived by local station KGTR, she stated, "They keep saying no evidence of foul play. What counts as foul when he's gone?" Her question highlighted the linguistic paradox of missing persons investigations. Absence itself becomes the central evidence, requiring conceptual rather than physical examination. Reassurance becomes linguistic artifact once statistically improbable disappears. Deputy Holcomb's log entries shifted from procedural to reflective. Entry 212 noted, "Perimeter expansion, yielding diminishing returns. Traditional lost hiker behavior patterns not evident. No fire attempts, no trail markers, no clothing fragments." At Base Camp 8, search team discovered small cairn formation. 3 stacked stones beside trail junction, not noted in previous sweeps. Photographic comparison with trail documentation from the previous month showed the formation as new. No conclusive evidence linked it to Daniel, but the location was added to the primary investigation map. Captain Dalton's operations log for June 20th showed increasing resource management concern. Air support reduced to 1 unit after tomorrow. County volunteer team rotation necessary due to work obligations. State resources committed through week's end only. The search operation itself began generating its own documentary weight. Each field report, equipment requisition, and team deployment creating administrative mass that balanced the physical absence at its center. The case file expanded to 3 volumes while the subject remained unfound. Logline 25th entry reads only, "Operation continuing." Morale adequate. Beneath Dalton's handwriting adds small crossmark. Unofficial signature of doubt not meant for official documentation. The mark appeared in carbon copies, but was erased from primary records. Search transformed into endurance. Ritual. Official optimism degraded into mechanical recitation. Wilderness confidentiality held against human intervention, maintaining silence as its primary communication mode. The mathematics of absence accumulated. 8 days missing, 46 square miles searched, 230 personnel hours logged, 3,700 images analyzed, all generating data about where Daniel wasn't, none revealing where he was. On September 5th, 2018, 2 recreational climbers reported skull fragments embedded in an eroded tree hollow near Razorback Spur, 12 miles east of Rye Creek. The discovery location fell outside primary search zones established in June operations. Forensic confirmation matched dental records to Daniel Keene 27 hours after recovery. The morgue camera clicked methodically, documenting each fragment against measurement scale, bone surfaces pressed against latex-gloved fingers during examination. The atmosphere held fluorescent detachment. clinical processing replacing search urgency after 86 days of absence. Montana State Medical Examiner Dr. Helena Martins conducted preliminary assessment. Remains show extensive weathering and animal scavenging consistent with extended environmental exposure. Recovered fragments represent approximately 60% of cranial structure. Detective Peter Holcomb, now lead investigator after reclassification from search to recovery, read the autopsy summary aloud during case review. Perimortem trauma inconsistent with animal predation. Evidence of restraint, abrasions, anterior wrists. Fracture patterns indicate blunt force trauma to occipital region administered ante-mortem. This medical determination reclassified the file from missing persons to homicide. Jurisdiction shifted from county to state investigative division. Case number BN863A received priority status. Evidence collected during search operations underwent reanalysis under criminal protocols. The tree cavity that contained the remains measured 11 inches deep with cord impressions visible at inner bark. Restraint marks, not weathering patterns. Botanical analysis established that the tree itself had partially grown around synthetic cordage, suggesting placement weeks or months before discovery. The finding location itself is evidentially significant, noted state investigator Marola during site assessment. It falls outside statistical wandering patterns for lost hikers, but sits directly on game trail networks used by locals. Further excavation revealed additional remains scattered over approximately 40 square meters, vertebrae, metacarpal fragments, partial femur. Position mapping suggested animal dispersal rather than intentional distribution. DNA confirmation processed through state laboratory matched primary samples. Meredith Keene received notification at her Missoula residence at 2340 on September 5th. County protocols assigned victim advocate Stephanie Rollins for family liaison. The recorded notification included only confirmed information, remains located, identity verified, investigation ongoing. We never say closure during these notifications, Rollins noted in her case file. No, resolution of search doesn't resolve grief, it only transforms it. Weather records for September 5th documented clear conditions, 58 degrees Fahrenheit at discovery time. The atmosphere at the recovery site held early autumn clarity, pine scent mixed with exposed soil, late afternoon sunlight angled through trees, highlighting evidence markers in vivid orange against forest brown. Returning the missing to data does not restore presence. The case file transitioned from active search to criminal investigation, documentation weight shifting from hope protocols to justice procedures. The statistical anomaly that began with a missing hiker had resolved into a different category of absence, one with coordinates but without explanation. Evidence tags transformed a wilderness location into crime scene. Yellow markers indicated bone fragment positions, blue marked possible personal effects. Red identified environmental alterations potentially related to remains concealment. The tree cavity containing Daniel's remains measured lean against the surrounding forest, an anomaly within an anomaly. The inner bark showed cord impressions consistent with restraint rather than natural processes, transforming a biological structure into evidence of intent. Between September 6th and 10th, supplementary excavation uncovered improvised shelter remains approximately 27 meters northwest of the primary discovery site. Tarpaulin fragments, weathered but identifiable as military surplus material, had been secured between tree trunks to create rudimentary overhead protection. Forensic technicians cataloged 67 items within the shelter perimeter. Fire remnants contained in stone circle, Food can dating matched to lot purchase verified through supermarket records in Missoula. Knife blade separated from handle. Bootlace fragments. Partial toothbrush. The trowel struck tin with hollow resonance during excavation. Damp loam yielded under systematic removal. The atmosphere held forensic focus, blending with quiet dread as each item emerged from soil. Chemical swab analysis detected human trace evidence from two distinct profiles. Daniel's DNA, confirmed through family reference samples, and unknown male origin, designated Subject B. The unknown profile entered CODIS National Database on September 8th, yielding partial match to Elias Trent, 48, transient previously cited for unauthorized forest habitation. In 2016, Trent had established multiple illegal campsites throughout the Bitterroot over several seasons, confirmed Forest Service officer Janet McKay. We documented 3 site abandonments prior to 2018, all showing similar construction methods. Background investigation revealed Trent's history: honorable military discharge 1997, sporadic employment through 2011, psychiatric evaluation during brief incarceration for trespassing 2014, last known address in Salmon, Idaho 2015. No violent crime record appeared in national database. Investigator Renee Dalton, transferred from search operation to criminal investigation, recorded interview clip with former ranger who had encountered Trent. He lived in the forest, off any grid. Not missing, choosing. That's another category entirely. County records showed 18 documented interactions with Trent between 2012 and 2017. Trespassing warnings, campsite violations, one hunting without license citation, each incident resolved without escalation, behavior classified as non-confrontational. The improvised shelter construction demonstrated both expertise and duration. Branch supports had been cut with saw precision. Drainage channels surrounded the perimeter. Stone placement showed intentional heat reflection for fire management. Analysis indicated occupation extending weeks rather than days. This wasn't survival. It was habitation, noted forensic anthropologist Dr. Way during site assessment. The difference matters significantly to understanding what happened here. Evidence collection continued through September 9th, expanding radius to 50 meters from primary site. Additional findings included artificial clearing showing regular foot traffic patterns, discarded packaging from commercial products dated between June 15th and July 7th, cloth fragments matching Daniel's documented clothing. Some disappearances are drawn together by proximity of solitude. The wilderness setting itself became contextually significant. Isolation enabling extended captivity without detection. The search operation had focused on lost hiker protocols, while a different scenario unfolded beyond statistical patterns. Among the final items recovered, a weathered notebook discovered wedged between rocks near the shelter perimeter. Its pages, damaged by exposure, remained largely blank, except a single phrase written backward on inside cover: "Keep still." Handwriting analysis matched characteristics of known Trent documents from previous citations. As investigation expanded, satellite imagery archives were re-examined for the June to September period. Thermal anomalies previously classified as wildlife activity underwent recalibration and revealed consistent heat signatures in the shelter location through late July. Human presence, hidden beneath digital misinterpretation. The evidence accumulated into narrative suggestion. Not wilderness accident, but wilderness predation. Not disorientation, but detention. The forest had not claimed Daniel through natural process, but through human interference masked by natural setting. Arrest. Conducted October 3rd at abandoned mining outpost 9 miles north of Razorback Spur. Subject Elias Trent, age 48, surrendered without resistance when confronted by tactical team at 4:23 a.m. Case notes described him as cooperative, malnourished, mentally disorganized, but communicative. The mining structure dated to 1893, constructed of stone and timber, partially collapsed but maintaining basic shelter function. Interior examination revealed minimal possessions. Sleeping bag, propane camp stove, 3 weeks food supply, collection of technical manuals, radio scanner modified for extended frequency range. Personal effects recovered from Trent included Daniel's wristwatch, 2 pages torn from hiking guidebook, and laminated photograph of unknown male subject. No firearms located, single hunting knife secured as evidence. Technical examination later confirmed the blade's edge pattern matched cutting marks on cordage, recovered from tree site. Trent's physical condition indicated extended wilderness habitation, substantial weight loss, untreated abrasions, early-stage hypothermia. Medical assessment documented patient-oriented to person, but not fully to time or place, periodic dissociative episodes during questioning. Initial interview conducted at Ravalli County Sheriff's Office after medical clearance. Confession emerged partial, fragmented, referencing keeping him alive to listen and signals coming through the trees. Audio recording excerpt preserved for court proceedings. Investigator: how long was Daniel with you? Trent: days, months? He stopped counting first. Investigator: did you plan to release him? Trent: the forest releases when it's heard enough. Distant waterfall sounds filtered through interrogation room ventilation system. Metal chain cuffs clinked against table edge during subject movement. Atmosphere held pragmatic horror as investigators maintained procedural calm while documenting methodical predation. Psychological evaluation ordered by court on October 5th. Dr. Allison Way conducted 6 interview sessions totaling 14 hours. Her assessment identified severe delusional disorder with paranoid features exacerbated by extended isolation and possible traumatic brain injury history. Surveillance camera footage from interrogation showed Trent alternating between periods of lucidity and disconnection. During coherent intervals, he provided detailed descriptions of Daniel's captivity, restraint methods, movement limitations, shelter construction. These details correlated with physical evidence recovered from crime scenes. Court transcript statement by forensic psychologist Dr. Way during competency hearing. Isolation-induced shared psychosis patterns consistent with predator dependence, both captor and victim manifesting mirrored behaviors under confinement. The subject created a relationship context where his reality became the only available framework. Evidence recovered from mining outpost included notebook containing what appeared to be transmission logs, dates and times with corresponding notations of signal strength and clarity. Entries coincided with Forest Service radio transmission schedules, suggesting Trent monitored official communications throughout the search period. Search team GPS units recovered from Daniel's initial disappearance site underwent re-examination. Technical analysis revealed partial fingerprints matching Trent on battery compartment, indicating he had collected, examined, and deliberately placed the device to mislead search operations. Evidence tag K12 cataloged a length of paracord knotted in distinctive double bowline pattern recovered from mining outpost storage container. Laboratory comparison confirmed identical pattern to ligature marks visible in wrist abrasions documented during autopsy. In captivity, Autonomy refracts until even cruelty seeks companionship. The psychological assessment suggested that Trent's isolation had transformed from choice to compulsion, with Daniel's capture representing not only predation but attempt at relationship formation under severely disordered thinking. The arrest processing completed initial investigative phase. Truth replaced search maps. Coordinates became crime scenes. Discovery provided completion for file, not closure for mind. Statistical anomaly resolved into documented human predation. November 12, 2018, Montana Attorney General's Office filed formal charges: second-degree homicide, unlawful restraint, desecration of remains. Court docket references: cross-jurisdictional resource mandate, termed Keene Directive, establishing interagency wilderness fugitive bulletin procedures. The directive formalized communication protocols between Forest Service, county sheriff departments, and state investigative division regarding suspicious activity reports in remote areas. Implementation included standardized training modules for seasonal staff and volunteer coordinates. Prosecutors assembled 8 volumes of evidence, including GPS tracking data, forensic analysis, psychological assessments, and witness statements. The preparation room hummed with copier machinery. Thin paper edges accumulated in boxes. The atmosphere held bureaucratic containment as human tragedy transformed into procedural documentation. Assistant Attorney General Margaret Holloway managed case presentation. The wilderness component creates jurisdictional complexity, requiring specialized prosecution approach. We're establishing precedent for similar cases across federal lands. The evidence processing facility in Missoula maintained climate-controlled storage for biological materials and electronic devices recovered from both sites. Technician logs documented chain of custody through 27 handling events between recovery and court submission. State budget allocation approved supplementary funding for wilderness crime scene investigation equipment, portable laboratory facilities, extended range communication systems, specialized evidence collection kits designed for environmental exposure conditions. The line item referenced Keene case protocols as justification. Deputy Peter Holcomb, promoted to detective following case resolution, signed affidavit page 119. We found what procedure permits, not what wilderness hides. His statement referenced the statistical improbability that all victims of wilderness predation are discovered, suggesting unknown cases potentially concealed by terrain and isolation. Elias Trent's court appearances proceeded under close psychological monitoring. Defense strategy focused on competency questions and wilderness survival context rather than factual dispute. Court transcripts documented extended testimony regarding isolation effects on cognitive function and reality testing. Bureaucracy finalizes tragedy through form numbering. Each procedural step generated documentation weight proportional to human absence. Evidence tags, witness statements, laboratory analyses, court filings, the administrative architecture required to transform a missing hiker into a homicide victim with legal standing. The visitor center where Daniel had signed the trail register underwent procedural changes. New monitoring systems installed, check-in protocols enhanced, staff training expanded to include suspicious behavior identification. The ordinary recreational gateway acquired security function beneath its welcoming exterior. Forest Service Training Manual. Section 8, Paragraph 4 now includes specific reference to solo hiker vulnerability indicators, a procedural legacy embedded in wilderness management nationwide. Ranger orientation includes case study summary. with identification protocols for potentially predatory behavior patterns in remote areas. Copy of initial receipt from visitor center, 2 bottles of water, 1 energy bar, refiled as Exhibit Terminal 0 in court documentation. The mundane elevated to forensic relic, ordinary purchase transformed to final verified transaction. Meredith Keene attended preliminary hearings but declined ongoing presence during technical testimony. Her written statement entered into court record. The legal process cannot contain what happened. The forest knows more than the courtroom ever will. The prosecution filing transformed wilderness from setting to evidence, isolation from condition to weapon. The legal narrative constructed around Daniel's disappearance established precedent for future wilderness crime classification while simultaneously acknowledging the fundamental limitations of human systems against natural concealment. Meredith Keene authorized limited interview December 8th. Her voice maintained low but steady cadence throughout recording. We treat it like data. That's the only way to stand in the room with it. The tape whirred softly in documentation equipment. Wool sleeve brushed against microphone during gesture. The atmosphere held restrained grief managed through factual engagement. She described recurring dream. Daniel still hiking, pausing to adjust backpack strap, never turning around to reveal his face. The image repeated with mechanical precision, like security footage on continuous loop. In the dream, I can call out, but my voice has no sound. The most normal moment keeps playing while I can't reach it. Dr. Way annotated transcript margins. Habit memory. Trauma seeks routine to replay absence. The mind attempts to restore the last normal moment before loss. Studies published post-2015 indicate recurring procedural fatigue in families of long-term unresolved cases, similar neurological footprints to post-combat syndromes. The brain's attempt to process incomplete narrative creates repetitive thought patterns seeking resolution. Meredith maintained the family liaison position throughout trial proceedings, translating legal developments for extended family members. Her professional background in technical documentation provided framework for emotional management through information organization. I catalog everything, she noted. Every document, every photograph, every statement. It doesn't heal anything, but it keeps the edges clear. The Keene family kept the trail map pinned under glass in their mother's home. Same folding patterns preserved, edges oil-stained from handling, coordinates fading with exposure. The ordinary navigation tool transformed to memorial object. Surviving becomes cross-referencing. Healing becomes compliance with documentation requirements. The human narrative continues through procedural engagement when emotional resolution remains unavailable. On June 12, 2023, 5 years exactly after the disappearance, park staff replaced the old visitor log clipboard. The prior register, water-damaged and fragmented, retained a single visible signature: Rye Creek Loop, solo day hike. The ink had bled crimson-brown with age and moisture. Forest Service archivist Margaret Chen supervised transfer of the original document to evidence storage in Missoula. Paper turned under gloved hands during final photography. Brittle cellulose cracked along fold lines. The atmosphere held memorial quiet as administrative procedure acknowledged anniversary significance. The replacement register included modified language above the signature line: notify ranger station upon return, safety check required for all solo hikers. Procedural adaptation, acknowledging lessons extracted from absence. Ranger Leah Sandstrom, now retired after 27 years service, remarked to documentarian, recording the clipboard replacement: "You can still smell the sunblock on the page. Some traces stay in the physical world, even when the person doesn't. The Bitterroot Visitor Center maintained Daniel's photograph in staff areas, not as public memorial, but as training reference. New seasonal employees received orientation that included brief case summary and enhanced check-in protocols. The procedural legacy continued through institutional memory. Some traces are physical, others chronological, both resist deletion. The date itself acquired significance beyond calendar function, marked in Forest Service operation logs, with small notation referencing enhanced patrol scheduling. The camera pans across the new register, untouched on morning of 5th anniversary. Sunlight falls at identical angle to security footage from 2018. The pen stands upright in its holder, unmoved by wind. No name written. The forest accepts absence as renewal. Where Act 1 opened in daylight security footage, the narrative closes under archive lighting. The same visual frame repeats, emptied of subject. The transformation of an ordinary gesture, signing a register, completes its trajectory from documentation to evidence, from presence to record. Trauma does not conclude. It files itself.